How's it going, traders? Welcome to the channel. My name is Nate, and if it's your first time here, welcome. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys the process that I use for number one, charting, but also finding trade setups, as well as going over a little bit of the planning process when it comes to identifying your entry levels as well as your take profit levels. Okay, so how do I start charting? Well, number one, the first thing I'm going to do is zoom out on the chart and see if there's anything obvious that sticks out to me. And I'm looking to draw trend lines, support levels, gap fills, things like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I usually kind of start at the bottom of the chart here. So number one, there's actually a very obvious trend line that we can draw. So I'm going to take the trend line tool, extend it all the way across, connecting as many pivot lows as I can. Pivot low number one, pivot low number two, and number three. All right, so let's zoom out and see if there's anything else that we can find. Also, an important thing to note is I am looking for levels that converge. And basically all that means is I'm trying to find spots on the chart where support levels intersect. All right, so right off the bat, you can see we have two trend lines drawn and they both cross right here. So immediately this is going to be an area on the chart that is of interest to me. But we're going to continue with the charting process. Let's zoom in. All right, what do you guys notice? Well, we have a big gap in price. And what that means is this is going to give us the potential for a gap fill setup. And essentially all that a gap fill is price trading down and filling the gap. A gap fill level is going to act as support when price is trading down into it. So we're going to take another trend line and extend it all the way across. So there you go. That's going to be our gap fill level. And remember our area over here where price intersected. Well, check this out. Now we have three trend lines that intersect with each other. Essentially what that means, the probabilities for that trade setup are going to increase. All right, so we now have an area on the chart where three trend lines converge or intersect. This is going to be a high probability trade setup when price trades down into this level. It's going to act as a very, very strong level. Like if you were to stack three pieces of plywood together, it's going to be exponentially harder for somebody to break through that. It's the same thing when price trades down into this. It's going to be very hard for price to break through. So the chances of price reversing and bouncing are very high. Maybe probably 70% or higher. So when I'm looking for a trade setup, I'm trying to find a spot on the chart where, multiple lines intersect, right? When I have a setup like this, where three trend lines are converging, I know that this is going to be a very high probability setup, and I have found my entry level. The second part is to identify the take profit, so where you're going to sell your position. So this entire process is me kind of projecting what I think price is going to do, right? So essentially, I am projecting that price is going to trade down into this level, and then it's going to bounce. Well, I always take profits based off of levels, never off of a dollar amount or a percentage. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take my trend line tool and look for any obvious resistance levels. We have this gap fill right here. I'm going to make this red for resistance, and we're going to extend this. All right, so we have found our take profit levels. We're going to make a little rectangular box here, and we're just going to write take profit. So I went ahead and changed the colors of these boxes just to, reflect buying and selling, right? All right, and last thing, we're just going to do a quick trade setup recap just to double check and make sure that we have everything in order. So to start, we have this trend line up here. It's going to be trend line number one. Then we have this trend line down here. That's going to be trend line number two. And then we have this gap fill level right here, which is going to be basically our third support level. So what that means is we have three factors intersecting with each other. This is going to be a high probability trade setup, and our take profit is going to be right up here at this gap fill level, which is going to act as resistance. So essentially what I'm planning on happening is for price to trade down into this level, bounce, and I'm going to take profits right here. All right, and the last thing that I'm going to say before I finish with the video is us taking this trade setup is dependent upon how price comes down into this level. And what I mean by that is we want to see price kind of flush down into this level pretty quickly. We don't want to see a slow grind down into this level, over months and months and months. We want to see price kind of come down into this level pretty quick. So the conditions have to be right as well for me to take this trade. So essentially we have our entry level, we have our take profit, and what we're looking for is for price to kind of rapidly sell down into this level. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone.